Hello everyone. It's James again. And I just wanted to say thank you for your kind support. For watching my videos. For you contributing with your own stories. And helping out one another. I also want to say thank you for your support on my last video I uploaded. Though it was probably my shortest video. It was a video I have put off making for several years because of the pain my upbringing has caused me. So thanks for your support and your kind words. I do appreciate it a lot. And for those of you who haven't seen the video I'm speaking about, I will put the link for it in the description box below. As many of you know, growing up with a narcissist parent or parents isn't easy. And sadly those of us that grew up with a narcissist mother in the house had another problem to deal with. All mothers are seen as they can do no wrong. And sadly narcissist mothers use this and their kids as human shields to protect themselves from blame. And to gain their evil narcissistic supply. You see, a narcissist, no matter it being a man or woman, will gravitate to where they can get the easiest and best narcissistic supply. Just like serial killers and serial rapists. They will gravitate to jobs and things in life that will allow them to do their evil and gain the charge they are looking for. Well, sadly for us. Because no matter if a woman is right or wrong, family court often sides with women as a default. And once this became common knowledge, narcissist women flocked to marriage, having children, and divorcing like they were eating Skittles. And yes, the men dealing with such women are often screwed out of their money. And alienated from seeing their children and being a father to them. But what about the kids themselves? What you witnessed in my last video was commonplace in my home. Sure, there were moments here and there where nothing was going on. But as soon as you felt like things were taking a turn for the better, my mother would come up with another stunt to use her children against my father. Or to turn me into the scapegoat once my father passed away. Which sadly happened a few years after the incident I showed in my last video. And by the way, I will try to make more videos the best I can regarding things that happened with myself and my mother. And other things that happened with myself and Susie. There are so many stories to tell. It's just hard to tell them sometimes. It's very, very hard. But I ask again. What about the kids? I know there are some of you that had narcissist evil fathers. And I know there are some of you out there that have both parents that are evil and you had to live with both of them. And the stories that I hear about things that happened to some of you makes my heart break. Because I do watch others' videos. I do listen to others' stories. Because it helps me too. It helps me remember I'm not alone. That many of us suffered alone, but now we are healing together. But in the situation where we are looking at a narcissist mother. One that pulls the kind of stunts my mother pulled. Could have been prevented. And how could it have been prevented? By holding everyone to the same standard. Both men and women. When it's in regard to marriage, divorce, and child custody. Marriage and having children is looked upon in our society as hitting the lotto. It's sick. It's just so darn sick. And everyone mocks the man for getting taken for a ride. And that he should have known better. But no one is talking about the kids. No one cares, it seems. No one is saying this is completely wrong. And it's destroying young children's chances to become someone in the world and have a full life. How many brilliant scientists never got to become a scientist because they grew up in a similar home as many of us. And they ended up dying before their time. Or becoming a mental mess as a result of their upbringing. How many cures for diseases did we miss because a certain child didn't get a fair shot at life because they grew up in hell on earth with a narcissist as their main care provider? How many possible business owners did we miss out on? Or inventors? Or young men and women that had the gift of song but it was snuffed out by their narcissist caregiver? And the ones that did make it? They were ripe for abuse by the Hollywood industry because they were already used to taking abuse from their narcissist parent and they were desperate for love and acceptance. How many young men and women were gifted athletes but never got their shot because their narcissist parent sabotaged their every move? How many young men and women were never able to find a good person to have a relationship with because all they knew was abuse. And as a result ended up with someone to abuse them as well. No one is saying any of this. It's just a big joke on the father. When you watch news shows where they make men out to be the butt of the joke. And when a woman takes all of a man's money and the kids. It's like this big high five moment. And I'm just sitting there thinking. Lady. It wasn't a high five moment for me. Living in my home was a nightmare and my father is also dead as a result. He lasted only a few more years after the incident in my last video and then passed away. I want to tell those people on television that think this is a joke. That I will never get to see my father again. That I was pushed to say and do things against my father in court because I was coached to do so by my sick mother. That my mother convinced me if I didn't say or do certain things that my father would have kidnapped me. And that I would never see her again. You see, the first years of my life. My father was a super active dad and I felt loved. But when my mother decided to break up the home, she convinced me that he was the boogeyman coming to get me. I remember him driving by the neighborhood and pausing for a moment and looking at me. Putting his head down and driving off because he wasn't supposed to be there because of court orders. But he just missed his kids so bad. He had to see us. And my mother would use that as that he was somehow putting together a plot to kidnap his kids. The problem I had with my mother is when my father passed away. And she still wanted me to do these weird stunts for her to get attention. And I started to refuse. And I started to question things. I then became the boogeyman. All at the age of 8 or 9 years old. I was the scapegoat, no good child. And my brother became the golden child. And our lives were a mess. I think back on things that happened as a kid. And I realize. My God. This is why I had such a hard life as a young adult. I was brainwashed and mentally abused. This is why I latched onto people like Susie. Because it was all I could identify with. And it was all I knew. I didn't know how to run when I noticed red flags. No one taught me how to do that. And yes, good parents teach their boys and girls how to stay away from bad friends and dating partners. This is something good parents, believe it or not, teach their kids. This is why you see some people that have had good relationships without too much of a problem. It's more than likely they were taught how to care about themselves a bit and run when someone is mistreating them. Run when you see someone is off. And the situation isn't right. I mean, many of us would have at least been happy with a normal life if we could have had one. And then you hear people trying to act like it's bad men that cause all of the problems. No. It's bad people. There are just as many men as there are women that are narcissists and psychopaths. No matter what you hear someone tell you what the data says. The data is skewed to keep this ugly cycle happening. And young children growing up with narcissist single mothers under the radar. Because this is a situation where the mother never has to answer for her crimes. Well, I shouldn't say never. Because I don't know what your beliefs are. But I believe the Most High is the ultimate judge. And I believe His hand was on my life the entire time. The entire time He was walking with me and making sure I was able to come out the other end of things okay. Emotionally hurt and in a lot of pain, but still okay and able to share my experiences with others. I know there are a lot of men out there that have narcissistically abused good women. There are many women on my channel that have been abused in this way. And I don't want to in any way make any woman on my channel think they have it easy because they are a woman. Because narcissists are tricky. And dealing with them is hell on earth. But we do need to change the laws in this country and other countries like ours so children can no longer be used as human lottery tickets and human shields for narcissist mothers. Because we are at the point where this has now become an epidemic. It's everywhere and it's celebrated on our television shows. And no one is putting a stop to it. And no. The answer isn't just walking away. The answer is changing the laws, because no matter what, people are going to be having children. And when the laws are 50-50, Meaning the woman will have to put in just as much effort and finances as the man if the relationship doesn't work out. If this is done, I will almost bet you will see fraud marriages drop. Divorce for profit drop. Divorces in general will drop. And narcissists women wanting to become mothers will drop. You will be able to see the forest from the trees. You will see the mothers that are having kids because they really want to be a good mother. Because one thing narcissists hate is responsibility. And I've seen where narcissist mothers have luckily abandoned their children to the father because they wanted to run wild and didn't want responsibility. Most don't do this, however, as most want to use the child as supply. And they want to hang the child over the man's head to gain supply until he's dead. Plus there's financial issues as well. I mentioned in a video that my mother was a hoarder as well. Guess where the money came from for her to buy all the garage sale crap she chose to fill our family home up with? You guessed it. My father's money. Money that should have been going to my talents and skills. And to propel me into having a fruitful life. Nope. It was used to fill our home up with useless garbage. And the courts don't care. And I know I'm not the only one that grew up like this. You see, we have a movement where there are a lot of men standing up, saying this is wrong and that's wrong. And some don't take it seriously because they think it's just a bunch of men complaining. But I say, the children that are now adults that grew up in this hell, it's your time to speak up. No matter if you are a man or a woman. Let your voice be heard. Change these laws. Tell your stories even if it's just a blog you write. Because this isn't just a problem where men are being taken advantage of and it's seen as funny on television. The end result of the man being taken advantage of is his children are destroyed in the process. How many of the people like me didn't make it and aren't on YouTube telling their story because they are dead? On drugs. Or in a mental hospital. It's just a sick mess. A mess that needs to stop. And the only way it will stop is if we acknowledge it's a problem. And for those growing up in a dual narcissistic parent home, where they are married for life and not going anywhere except to hurt you and your life, I say besides changing the laws, we need to get it on the books that this is indeed child abuse. No doubt about it. And furthermore, this information regarding narcissistic abuse is widely available to everyone. So if a child has to endure this type of treatment, once 18 they can leave the family home for good and go no contact. Because that's the real problem. Most if not all of us had no understanding of what was happening to us. We had no one on the internet telling us about it. We had nothing. Now the information is there and spreading and continuing to spread. So that young man or woman about ready to go off to college and thinking about staying in town with a narcissist family or going across the country will have a better way to make good decisions to get away from their toxic environment. Because oftentimes when a toxic parent or parents feel they've gone too far, they will reel you back in with nice treatment or love bombing to get you to stay. Then once you stay, the toxic behavior comes right back out again. During the time when my mother had me doing these types of things in my last video, she made sure to buy me lots of toys. However, when I was a young teenager I had to beg my mom for a new pair of shoes because mine no longer fit my feet. The toys weren't bought out of love. Because if that were the case I wouldn't have to beg for proper fitting shoes many years later. The toys were bought to get me to do what she wanted. And once my father was dead and gone and I was now the scapegoat, the love bombing stopped. My life was sabotaged at every corner and turn like many of you out there. I would just be happy to see the day when we have a 50-50 law. You get married with no financial rewards. And kids can't be used as pawns in the game. Sure, you know. If the one parent is making a lot more money than the other and the child is in private school, the parent that's making more money will pay for that. But that's not money that is paid to the other parent for that purpose. The parent ordered to pay for the schooling can pay the school him or herself. And as long as a parent can provide receipts for clothing and groceries, there's no need to give a mother money for these things. or father if the roles are reversed. Simply put, when the child is in your care for the time being you are responsible. Then when you go and stay with the other parent for the next week they are responsible. And there are some that will say, bouncing around is bad for a kid. I will tell you firsthand. No, it's not. And I would have loved to have stayed with my father every other week. And furthermore, this is the only way for the narcissist to show themselves. Because if you give them this type of responsibility they will abandon their children. Did you hear what I said? If you give them this type of responsibility they will abandon their children. They will get upset they have to pay for the food while they are there and the clothes while they are there and they can't spend their work money on themselves. And it will become very apparent who the good parent in this situation really is. You see, there's a story in the Bible where King Solomon was hearing court a particular day, where two women were fighting over a particular child as to being their own. King Solomon then laid the child down on a table pretending like he was going to cut the child in half. Then the real mother jumped quickly and covered the child from the sword's blow to save the child's life. Now the woman nor the child were struck. But King Solomon knew the fake mother wouldn't risk her life to save a child that wasn't hers. Well, a fake mother, or in this case a narcissist mother, won't go out of her way because it's the right thing to do to spend her money, time and effort on her children. So if there is a 50-50 law, no more child support unless it's proven that one of the parents is unfit, such as having a problem with drugs or proven abuse. But for people that just can't get along, no more child support. No more alimony. No more full custody alienating the children from one of the parents. Guess what will happen? Just like with King Solomon's sword. The 50-50 law will get the narcissist parent to show who they are and the real parent to show who they are. You see, in King Solomon's court both women were convincing. And he knew it would be almost impossible to tell. Because the toxic woman that was claiming to be the mother when she wasn't, was a perfect actress. King Solomon knew he had to make the real parent or mother in this case responsible. He knew the real parent would happily accept their responsibility even if that meant death and the fake one would run. I believe we can get there. The Most High willing. We must keep sharing regarding this ugly truth about narcissistic abuse. And we must continue to work for change. So the next group coming behind us will have an easier way to go. And so we can have these bright, wonderful professional men and women reaching their dreams and exceeding them. The more my channel grows, the more I will be talking about this 50-50 law. Because I want to one day see it as a reality. Like I always say, knowledge is power. The more we know, the more we can live happy and healthy lives. Until next time, bye for now. And be good to yourself.